What a terrible day it was yesterday, on purpose. Of course, that's a massive mob, highly organized, with matching outfits, coming with ropes and tools, in broad daylight, not the dead of night, in the full sight of a huge police force, just tying ropes to a statue of Queen Victoria, right on the steps of the Manitoba legislature, just pulling it down. That's a crime, of course, and police did nothing but watch. Actually, that's not quite true. Here's a CBC story. One arrested after Queen Victoria's statue toppled at Manitoba legislature. Yeah, that's quite a headline because it wasn't a statue vandal who was arrested. It looks like it was the lone counter-protester who was against toppling the statue. He wasn't just arrested. They tasered him too. So the police weren't there to uphold the law. They certainly weren't there to stop the statues from being torn down or to arrest anyone for those crimes, on Canada Day no less. They were there as security, really, for the vandals. This is the same Manitoba police who arrested and jailed Maxime Bernier, the leader of the PPC party, for meeting peacefully with other skeptics of Manitoba's lockdown. So they had police arrest and jail a political leader. And as you'll remember from my interview with Bernier, police actually told him to get out of the province and that they would follow him around until he did. The Premier personally threatened Bernier with extreme enforcement, but right outside of the Premier's own office, a crowd destroys statues of Queen Victoria, and they toppled Queen Elizabeth's statue too. And just nothing. Sorry, not nothing. They tasered the one guy who was upset about it all. So that was friendly Manitoba, as their license plates say. But across the country, there were more churches being vandalized and burnt too. Some of the arson was right in a city, brazen, torching a church in the middle of the day, unafraid of being caught. And why not? Maybe police would taser anyone stopping the arsonists. And yesterday alone, 10 churches vandalized in Calgary. 10 in one day. Don't tell me this isn't an orchestrated, financed, national operation. Here's what Calgary's police had to say, though. Officers are investigating vandalism at 10 churches. We must never forget residential schools are a part of our legacy that destroy the lives of so many Indigenous families. But vandalism like this only creates further division, fear, and destruction. So that's what you got. No sympathy or solidarity with the vandalized churches or their congregants. Just a terse statement that they were vandalized. And then immediately pushing the narrative that the churches are to blame, the churches are evil. And come on, vandals, will you knock it off? Don't be so divisive, really. I mean, they hate to enforce the law here. They're so reluctant to enforce the law. Maybe they'll taser a priest who tries to put out a fire. But just for appearance's sake, they have to say something about the vandalism. They're victim blaming. Can you imagine if 10 mosques had been vandalized in one day and the cops said, we're investigating and hey, everyone who's mad about Islamic terrorism, can you just cool it a bit? But really, Trudeau himself was no different. We showed you what he said a couple days ago. Time it. It's 16 seconds.
Today, I also want to talk about the arson and vandalism we're seeing across the country targeted at Catholic churches. This is not the way to go. The destruction of places of worship is unacceptable, and it must stop.
But yesterday was the focus. They're trying to turn Canada Day into a day of shame and rage. They're doing it in Australia too. They're trying to destroy Australia Day. They haven't quite got that far in their bid to destroy the 4th of July in the United States. In the UK, they practically turned it into a crime to fly the flag of England, the St. George's Cross. I think I told you that when I was in Sunderland once, I met someone who told me that police asked him to take down his Union flag, the official flag of the UK, that he was flying in his yard because it's racist, you see. That's what they said, the cops. They're trying to turn Canada into a racially charged, violent place. They're trying to do to Canada what the Black Lives Matter group did to America. Black Lives Matter should be sued for false advertising. It hasn't helped Black lives. How does it help Black lives to burn down Black neighborhoods, destroy Black-owned businesses, Black-run businesses? One of the goals of Black Lives Matter, I want to call them BLM. I don't even want to use their full name because that's the opposite of what they do. BLM wants to defund the police. Well, how's that working out for the black community itself? Rich white suburbs can often afford private security. How's defunding police working out in Minneapolis or St. Louis or Chicago or Portland or Seattle? But BLM creates a sense of crisis and chaos. Out of the fear, it demands obedience, and it turns what would be normal political disagreements into litmus tests about whether or not you're racist. So two good people can have a disagreement about anything, until you say that the conservative point of view is actually just racism. And then you can condemn people you disagree with as just racist. You don't have to talk about issues anymore. And there's nothing worse in life these days than being called racist, even falsely. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. So people will capitulate. And if they don't, well, obviously they're just racist. This has worked in America. It hasn't actually helped black people, but for white leftists who finance BLM, I mean, they got rid of Trump, didn't they? And Justin Trudeau needs a bit of that division up here right now. He needs a crisis to distract from his own controversies. He's managed the pandemic worse than any other leader in the G7. We have the worst lockdowns. We have no working border with the United States. He's botched the vaccines so badly. Our economy is weak and getting weaker. Of course, Trudeau wants something else to turn the channel in the remaining weeks before the election is called. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.